Okay, this is my final negative rebuttal against Project Indigo. There is no question that the financial sector is in constant danger of undergoing cyber attacks with today's constantly evolving technology. In the case of Project Indigo, however, this does not present a viable solution to the problems occurring on a daily basis. Even though it may seem as if little to no private information has been shared with the U.S. government so far, there is no guarantee that this will continue for much longer. If 8 of the largest banks within America, including Bank of America, BNY Mellon, Citigroup, Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan Chase, Morgan Stanley, State Street, and Wells Fargo, if they all decide to share their information, then it is very possible that a single breach between this group could result in a nationwide divulgence of information. My opponent mentions in their very first affirmative argument that in 2015, the Office of Personnel Management was hacked, which ended up releasing financial and investment records, as well as personal information, including the names of family members, friends, and the histories of where these people lived. From this hack alone, 22 million people had their information stolen. Now, imagine that same sort of breach happening to a shared database of these 8 major banks. It is safe to say that more than 22 million people would be severely affected by this calamity. Moreover, my opponent states that hackers can remain within a certain network for an average of 146 days before being detected. So, for over 4 months. This means that an attacker could be stealing the personal information of millions of people across the nation, as well as any of the institutions that utilize these banks for their financial needs. If this hacker finds their way into the private information of one institution that takes part in Project Indigo, then it is more likely that a hacker could easily apply their methods of getting into or making that breach happen. They could apply this to one of the other 7 banks, or any other banks that choose to take part in this program if it develops further. Also, since the U.S. is well ahead of any other country in the amount of cyber attacks that occur, it does not seem helpful to merge these large banks together in terms of cybersecurity. Sharing this massive amount of information is setting up a very probable chance that they can all be illegally accessed around the same time. Because of all of these banks have location nationwide, it would be more beneficial to establish specific preventative measures in Cyber Command for each individual use. My opponent claims that, so far, there has not been any information shared currently with the U.S. government, but this is likely to change rapidly. Not only will the information of these 8 major banks be shared with the government, but also with the Department of Treasury, the Department of Homeland Security, and the Federal Bureau of Investigations. This is an obvious contradiction in their argument. It is important to question if all of the clients of these banks are fully aware of how their personal information is being shared, especially if they prefer to be less influenced and involved with government affairs. Although the data has been shared with these banks is considered not exclusive, there's no guarantee that every client will be on board with the sharing of their personal information. Furthermore, many other banks are not intrigued by the idea of giving enough information to Cyber Command that would be truly helpful for their ultimate purpose. Trying to analyze all of the information shared between these major institutions is not necessarily helpful for the detection of threats, because it is more challenging to differentiate the parallel data sets. Essentially, one of these banks could be going through minor breaches of security, but because all of their information is compiled with the rest of the others, these attacks could go undetected. Security Information and Event Management, or SIEM, is crucial to the protection of these major institutions, and trying to form an SIEM across a wide range of institutions could not cover all the bases that need to be monitored. Assuming that applying the same process for threat detection across a nationwide set of financial institutions sounds too good to be true. There are countless nuances that differentiate these 8 major banks, and if they are not accounted for, then this could lead to the ultimate fallback of Project Indigo. These current techniques are constantly going through changes to be to best protect the organization that they are a part of. So it does not seem helpful to introduce a completely new program that is no guarantee of being successful. If Project Indigo is meant to simplify the process for threat detection in financial institutions, but it requires so much specialization to make any significant precautions, then it would require more personnel to make it successful nationwide. For this reason, it does not make sense to implement a totally new program that has no assurance of achieving fruition. Thank you.